Today was a dark day in the history of the United States Capitol.
If you're a conservative, this is the most offensive concept in the world.
This isn't what America is.
Election interference isn't just unethical. It's outright illegal. Federal and state laws are very clear on this, covering acts like voter intimidation, tampering with ballots, and obstructing election certification. Violations carry serious consequences. Take voter intimidation, for instance. It's a federal felony that can bring fines, prison time, or both. And tampering with vote counts? That can land someone in federal prison for up to 5 years.
Yeah, and it's not like these are abstract laws nobody enforces. The January 6th investigations have shown us the consequences of breaking those laws in real time. People are facing actual prison sentences for interfering with the election process. It's a wake-up call, right?
Absolutely. These high-profile prosecutions are a way of showing that the system is serious about accountability. And they need to be. When we talk about cases like attempting to obstruct Congress's certification of votes, that's obstruction of an official proceeding under federal law. It's no slap on the wrist. That's decades in prison in some cases.
And beyond the penalties, it's also about trust, isn't it? You weaken confidence in elections when people think nothing's being done about these crimes.
Oh, absolutely. Public confidence depends on enforcement. When people see violators being held accountable, it reassures them that the system works as it should. No one gets to cheat it.
And yet, some of these cases are wild. People are out here making fake electors, threatening poll workers, even trying to intimidate election officials. Like, you know that story about veterans working the polls and getting harassed? It just boggles my mind.
That example is especially telling. Veterans, people who have served the country, stepping up as election officials, and they're being threatened for doing their duty? It's not just disrespectful, it's criminal.
Exactly. But what really gets under my skin is how state crimes in these cases can't even be pardoned federally. Like, you might think a presidential pardon would bail you out. But nope, doesn't apply here.
Right. Convictions under state election laws are a whole other layer. You're looking at prison time, fines, maybe even losing civil rights like voting or running for office. There's no easy out.
And it should be that way. I mean, sure, no system's perfect, but if we don't enforce these rules, what happens? Do elections just become a free-for-all?
Letting these cases slide would send a very dangerous message, no doubt about it. You can't have democracy without accountability. And the impact of not upholding these laws ripples far beyond just one election cycle. We're talking about the long-term stability of the system itself.
Yeah, and it's a reminder, too, that vigilance isn't just the government's job. Protecting democracy takes, like, all of us. That's something we don't talk about enough.
Exactly. And these legal frameworks remind everyone, from voters to officials, that none of this is optional. The stakes couldn't be higher. Speaking of accountability and enforcement, Trump's phone call to Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, is one of the most telling examples we've seen in recent history. He outright asked Raffensperger to find 11,180 votes, enough to flip the state's results in his favor. Not only was that an attempt to overturn Biden's victory, but it directly undermined the most basic principles of fair elections.
That still blows my mind. Like, asking for specific votes, it's not subtle in any way. It's blatant, you know?
Exactly. What's striking is that Raffensperger pushed back, and he said, "We believe we have an accurate election." But Trump wasn't taking no for an answer. He kept insisting that the numbers were off by hundreds of thousands of votes without providing any evidence.
And isn't it wild that this is from a guy who claims to stand for democracy? I mean, here's a Secretary of State saying, no, the results are clean. And Trump's like, nah, just change it anyway. It's like stepping into a bad movie plot.
And that wasn't an isolated moment either. The committee found evidence showing that Trump pressured multiple state officials, Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, to either overturn results or submit alternate slates of electors. This isn't just rhetoric, it's calculated.
It's orchestrated chaos. And let's not forget the role of misinformation here. This constant drumbeat of the election was stolen, repeated over and over. People bought into it.
Absolutely. His rhetoric fueled this alternate reality where facts didn't matter. These lies were used to condition supporters to believe they were fighting for something stolen from them. That sense of betrayal is what ignited January 6th.
Right. And some of them, the testimonies are heartbreaking, like Graydon Young from the Oath Keepers. He breaks down in court saying they thought they were acting like revolutionaries, like they were attacking their own government for some greater cause.
Young's emotional testimony stood out. He called himself a traitor to his own country. It's clear he now sees how delusional the entire justification for that day was. But the tragedy is how many like him felt emboldened by Trump's words.
And it snowballed, right? Trump tweets, he doubles down on the big lie, and it just spreads. People like Young believed they were continuing some historical moment, like a second revolution or something.
And it's important to note the timing. Trump kept pushing these narratives even when court after court, over 60 cases, threw out fraud claims as baseless. His own campaign officials testified that they found no evidence of widespread fraud. Yet he persisted, knowing how it could escalate tensions.
It's so reckless. And the collateral damage? Good people were misled into thinking they were patriots saving democracy. But in reality, they were being used, weaponized against the very democracy they thought they were defending.
And that's what makes this chapter of history so critical. It's not just about what Trump did, but about the ripple effects, the erosion of trust, the exploitation of misplaced loyalty. This isn't just a political story, it's a human one. And speaking of those who felt emboldened by Trump's rhetoric, the events of January 6th also shine a light on organized extremist groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. These groups weren't just participants, they were key players, with a clear intent to disrupt the certification of the election. Leaders like Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes meticulously planned their actions, creating encrypted communication channels and discussing tactics that anticipated confrontation and chaos.
Yeah, and it wasn't just random, These weren't people who just showed up and got caught up in the moment. They came prepared, some armed, fully believing they were like soldiers in this made-up battle for the country.
Exactly. They framed it as a patriotic duty, which only amplifies how dangerous misinformation became in this context. And misinformation wasn't confined to fringe corners. It was being actively spread by major figures. Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, for example, promoted false allegations about ballots in Detroit, claims that were dismissed in court over and over again.
And those lies, Eric, they weren't harmless. You see how they fueled this belief that something was stolen from them. Like, people weren't second-guessing. They were convinced, absolutely convinced. They were defending democracy.
The psychology here is fascinating, and honestly, it's tragic. People got pulled into this distorted reality, in part because it was repeated so often from people they trusted. Trump's rhetoric, for instance, created this echo chamber. Those who stormed the Capitol believed they were acting on his behalf.
Yeah, and it's not like they were just reacting to one rally. This was months, even years in the making. Constant narratives about election fraud and rigged systems built this powder keg. And when you think about the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, they were ready to light the match.
And that's why the fallout matters so much. Those lies didn't just end on January 6th. They left a lasting impression on the public, eroding trust in one of the bedrocks of democracy, elections.
And it's not just trust that suffers, It's safety. Election workers and officials have faced threats, harassment, and worse, all because of misinformation. That's not democracy. That's chaos. It's dangerous for everyone.
Agreed. But there's something else we need to take from this. An understanding of just how vital it is to uphold truth, to promote factual discussion, especially when it comes to our democratic processes. When misinformation goes unchecked, events like January 6th are the result.
That's why this matters. It's not just a history lesson. It's a warning. If we don't challenge lies, If we don't demand accountability, we're inviting this kind of breakdown to happen again.
On that note, it's clear that protecting democracy is an ongoing responsibility. It's not just on leaders or institutions, it's on all of us to insist on truth and transparency. The stakes couldn't be higher.
Yeah, and hopefully talking about this helps people see that. It's not just politics, it's our future. Thanks for having this conversation, Eric. And for everyone listening, keep pushing for a better, stronger democracy.
Thanks, Scott. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time.